Hi, it's Marisa from bumblebeeapothecary.com. Today I'd like to walk you through how you transition from being on the GAPS diet to eating a diet that consists of all different kinds of food groups, basically coming off of the GAPS diet. Before we jump into this, I have lots of other videos on my channel if you're new here about going through the GAPS diet, going through all the different stages of the GAPS introduction diet, as well as being on the full GAPS diet, and I'll have all those linked below. And now let's jump into how you transition from being on that full GAPS diet to coming off of it. So Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride recommends staying on the full GAPS diet usually for about 2 years. This can really vary depending on your personal circumstances and what type of health problems you're trying to address. If you don't really have any digestive symptoms and you're just trying to get your gut reset and back in its best health, you could probably complete the GAPS diet in 6 months or 1 year. You just really have to listen to your body and go with what's best for you personally. An average for most people though is 2 years, and sometimes if you have more serious chronic health issues, you could be on the GAPS diet longer than 2 years. It just really depends. But the way to know is you want to have 6 straight solid months of no digestive symptoms before you start transitioning off the GAPS diet. So be looking for 6 solid months of normal digestion, and then you can start trying the different non-GAPS foods. There's a certain order that you want to go through when you're starting to add foods back in that were not allowed on the GAPS diet. It's really important to remember to not rush with the steps of adding these different foods back in. You don't want to undo all the hard work that you've done over the past couple of years healing your gut, so go very slowly, really pay attention to how you're doing, and listen to your body. The very first foods that you'll be adding back in when you're coming off the GAPS diet are new potatoes and gluten-free grains. These are going to be grains like millet and quinoa, and you'll want to make sure that they're fermented or properly prepared before you eat them. Before you try adding potatoes back in, make sure that you're doing okay with nightshades. So while you're still on the full GAPS diet, you want to be making sure that you're doing perfectly fine with foods like tomatoes and peppers. And if you're doing fine with those, then it should be safe to go ahead and try the potatoes. You start with a very small amount of the new food and make sure that you only do 1 new food at a time. Wait 2 to 3 days and see how your body's doing with that new food. If everything seems to be fine, you're not seeing old symptoms or new symptoms come up, then try that food again. If everything still seems to be okay, then you can gradually increase the amount of that new food. Make sure that when you're having these more starchy foods that you always eat them with plenty of animal fat. So for example, with the potatoes, make sure that you're having plenty of butter, sour cream, things like that. Same thing with those properly prepared gluten-free grains. Make sure that you're always serving them with butter or some type of animal fat when you eat them. To prepare those gluten-free grains, you're going to soak them in some type of acidic solution overnight before cooking. So for example, if you're preparing millet, you can put that into a pan with the water that you'll be cooking it in and some whey. Let that sit on your countertop. If you have a gently warm area, then that's even better. And then the next day you'll be able to cook that, and the fermenting helps to break down the different anti-nutrients that make it hard to digest and makes it easier for our bodies to digest. Once the potatoes and the gluten-free grains are going fine, then it's okay to try some true sourdough bread. You want to make sure that this is not just sourdough flavored bread from the store, but it's actual true fermented sourdough bread. And this will be sourdough bread made with wheat or rye. If that seems to be going okay, then you can go on to other starchy vegetables like corn, and you can try other grains and beans that weren't allowed on the GAPS diet. For best results, always make sure that these things are properly prepared so that your body has the easiest time possible digesting them. As you're eating more and more of these things, you'll probably see how your body's responding, and if everything seems to be going fine, every once in a while, like at a birthday party or get together, you can probably try having something that you wouldn't normally eat, like some store-bought birthday cake or something like that. This is not something that you want to do very often, but it's such a big part of social interaction to be able to join in what everybody else is eating, and that is one of the most wonderful things about the GAPS diet, is that Even if you struggled with these different health problems before and seriously could not eat foods like that, after healing, quite often people can go ahead and eat really non-healthy stuff every once in a while and be okay, as long as most of the time they are eating a very nutrient-dense, nourishing, properly prepared, whole foods, nourishing traditions type diet. And that brings me to my next point, which is after you're off of the GAPS diet, you can never go back to eating a typical standard American diet. You will undo all of the hard work that you have done. Your health problems will most likely come back, so that's not something you can do. The way that you want to eat after coming off of the GAPS diet is going to be something like a Nourishing Traditions or Weston A. Price style diet. I have other videos that talk about what this is and recipes that are included in that diet, but don't get scared off by thinking, oh, what is this way that I have to eat the rest of my life? Yeah, it's not a big deal at all. Just imagine how your great-grandparents ate back when they lived, before there were so many packaged and processed and artificial foods. More and more people back then lived on farms. They had family farms, and even people that didn't have big farms at least grew a lot of their own food. They made everything from scratch for the most part. They ate a whole foods, regular, real food diet. So that's all I'm talking about. And the Weston A. Price Foundation and the cookbook Nourishing Traditions has tons of information on how traditional people prepared foods to make them more nutritious and more easily digested and just so much more healthy for us. So those are great resources when you're going to need to be knowing how you're going to eat once you're off the GAPS diet. So the Nourishing Traditions type diet covers all different kinds of food groups. You don't have to exclude anything as long as your body is doing okay with it. But it does need to be properly sourced and properly prepared. The GAPS diet looks like a lot of work, and it is a certain amount of work when you're going through it. But you have to always remember, it's a very healthy and wholesome way to eat, and it lays a foundation for a lifetime of good health, and you really cannot put a price tag on that. Cooking on the GAPS diet or on a full Nourishing Traditions type diet that includes all food groups is not really that hard. You just buy everything fresh and unprocessed and make it at home. The more you do this, the easier it will become. And I am here with lots of videos and recipes and tips to make it easy and doable. I will link a bunch of different recipes and videos that I have below for the different foods that you might want to learn how to make. I'm going to link some of my GAPS diet videos in case you haven't seen those yet. Let me know how you're doing. Have you been through the GAPS diet at all? Are you just at the beginning? Have you been on it a while? Are you just thinking about starting it? Where are you in this process? Leave me a comment and I'd love to hear. I always try to respond to all my comments that I get to. The GAPS diet also includes not only how you eat, but also your entire lifestyle, and I have a free ebook if you're new here. I wanted to mention it's called DIY Organic Personal Care Recipes, and it shows you how to make toothpaste and deodorant and sunscreen easily at home, and it's a free ebook. I'll put a link below where you can grab that. That way you can skip the toxins found in commercial personal care products and easily make them yourself at home. Alright, if you like this video and found it helpful at all, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else who you think might want to watch it. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I make new videos every week on nourishing recipes, natural remedies, and DIY skincare and home products. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.